we're going to make sure, regardless of disagreements we have on policy, that our military and intelligence cooperation to keep the Israeli people safe continues, and that cooperation also helps the American people stay safe. But we are going to continue to insist that from our point of view, the status quo is unsustainable, and that while taking into complete account Israel's security, we can't just in perpetuity maintain the status quo, expand settlements. That's not a recipe for stability in the region.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard all of this before from President Obama. He was interviewed over the weekend, and when asked, well, you know, Netanyahu took it back about the two-state solution. He said, well, we take it as word what he said during the campaign. This from a man? Take it as word? This is one of the greatest liars in political history. You like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. You like your health care, you can keep your health care. Right on down the line, where should I stop? Anyway, joining us now is John McLaughlin, partner at McLaughlin and Associates, Republican pollster and strategist. Hey, John.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, John, you hear me?
I'm here.
Okay, good. Good to talk to you, my friend. All right, you had a very revealing thing to say over the weekend about, first of all, I thought from the beginning that this vote in Israel was in great part a referendum on Barack Obama, because from what I understood, the polls had shown that going into, before the election, 70% or so of the Israelis didn't trust Obama on Iran. And to have Israel's best interests at heart. And then when the opposition candidate comes out and says, I trust Obama to make a good deal with Iran, I figured that was it. So you did, if I'm not mistaken, did polling for Likud, correct?
Correct.
And what did you come up with?
Well, we found similar numbers where most Israeli voters don't like the president. And what was unique about this election was that there were signs that allies of President Obama were playing in the election, and Israel is the only democratically elected government in the Middle East. They're our most reliable ally probably in the whole world. And here it is that nonprofits were funneling money to turn out voters against us. There was Jeremy Bird, who was the Obama for America political director, was setting up an Obama for America in Israel, in effect called V15, with the one objective was to defeat Prime Minister Netanyahu. And I spent over 40 days in Israel in the last couple of months, and if you went through Israel, which is a small place, there were signs, there were digital ads, there were volunteers working all over Israel for this V15 organization, which was spending millions of dollars, maybe tens of millions of dollars, to defeat the Prime Minister. So
fair to say NGOs and Obamaites working hard to defeat Benjamin Netanyahu?
Right. And even at some point in late January, early February, the State Department was expediting visas for the Arab parties had gone from 3 parties where Arabs in Israel have the same rights as any other voter. They can vote. They usually do vote. They're very good citizens. But our State Department got involved in making sure they would come over to the United States and meet with Democratic operatives to learn how to turn out their vote and get them out on Election Day. Well, there was no similar effort for any group or party that was related to the Prime Minister.
Well, what business is it of our State Department to make sure anybody gets out the vote in any other country?
Well, well, it's one thing to promote democracy. It's another thing to be promoting the defeat of the leader of the government, which is your ally. And I think a lot of this was about certainly the deal with Iran, because once the Prime Minister accepted Speaker Boehner's invitation, there was a lot of activity trying to derail that speech. And I think that the Obama administration would have liked to have had someone who would, whatever deal they make with Iran, would say, oh, that's a great deal, rather than saying they should try to create a better deal.
All right, John, you're talking about Obamaites and NGOs, and then, am I correct, you said State Department with the Arab vote?
They did expedite visas to get Arab leaders over to the Israeli Arabs right. Over to the United States.
Do you see anything illegal, in your view, that went on here?
Well, there might have been Senator Cruz and Congressman Lee Zeldin sent a letter citing that there may have been taxpayer dollars, $350,000 at least, that went into a group called One Voice. It was a nonprofit that ended up with V-15 that they were using those monies.
Right.
So, Israeli law is such that people can give to campaigns. It's an open democracy like the United States.
So, John, because we only have a minute left or less,
Yes, sir.
so would you say that this effort was backfired and this was a referendum on Obama and his efforts?
Oh, it absolutely backfired. It absolutely, in the end, Prime Minister Netanyahu was able to get directly to the voters in Israel, speak out on their behalf, whether it was dividing Jerusalem or whether it was giving more land to the Palestinians, group like Hamas that was rocketing them last summer. He was able to get that message out, and they voted overwhelmingly in favor of him and gave the 7 right-of-center parties got a majority of the vote. And they're forming a coalition government right now that's a right-of-center coalition versus the unity government they had last year.
Gotcha. All right, John, great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much. John McLaughlin, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming back with Congresswoman Diane Black. Don't go away.
Each year, more than 1 million Americans are arrested for drunk driving. I hope you were not one of them. It's a serious problem, and police regularly ask drivers to take a breathalyzer test. If you've been drinking, should you cooperate with the police and take the breathalyzer? It's not an easy question, and there's no easy answer. Some states will argue that you gave implied consent to the test when you received your driver's license and that you can't really say no. If that's the case, you have to obey the law. If you don't cooperate, the police may get a court order to take a blood sample. But in most states, you have the legal option not to take the breathalyzer and to refuse to cooperate. Still, there are other factors that may weigh on your decision. This includes how many drinks you've had, when you had your last drink, what you ate. All of these things may have an impact on how the alcohol will affect you. For example, according to some scientific studies, females need less alcohol to become drunk than their male counterparts. But the law has the same number for both men and women as to how to measure drunkenness. And in some states, the blood level alcohol is set at a very low threshold. Even 2 drinks taken quickly, close to the time of the test, could make you DWI. And what constitutes drunk driving varies by state. In some jurisdictions, age is a factor. The younger you are, the lower the blood alcohol level required for DWI. My advice is that if you're pretty sure you're under the limit, take the breathalyzer. But here's the flip side. If you're absolutely positive that you're over the limit, don't take the test. If you have the legal option not to. Never break the law, obviously. Refusing to take the breathalyzer test may result in serious legal consequences, but those consequences are generally lower than if you were actually found to be DWI. Also, if you refuse the breathalyzer, you can still be convicted of drunk driving based on the policeman's testimony. The police are there to protect you, but you still have rights. Always remain respectful, never mouth off to a policeman, and get familiar with your state rules as to how many drinks you can consume before you're considered to be DWI. Also find out if you have the option in your state not to take the breathalyzer. Follow the law. Exercise good judgment. That's not always easy if you've had something to drink. And act accordingly. I'm Alan Dershowitz for Newsmax TV.